It's time for question time. Welcome to question time for today. You are a project manager working on a project. You have been asked to provide documentation regarding sources of overall project risk, and in addition to that, summary information on identified individual project risks regarding the number of identified threats and opportunities. Which process should you work on next? Should you work on identify risks? Should you work on perform qualitative risk analysis, performing quantitative risk analysis, or should you plan risk responses? What will you do next? You're currently working, as I said, on a document that catalogs all those things. What will you do next? Hit the pause button, think about it, and I'll tell you the answer in a few seconds. The answer to what you should do next, if you're doing what I said you were, the answer is you should perform qualitative risk analysis. That is the best option because you have to take it at face value. This is the first time I'm doing this. Okay? Anytime you are given a question where it looks hazy as far as where you are, you got to know where you do this initially. Where do you do this initially? This is talking about the risk report. So what you should do after a risk report is really performing qualitative risk analysis. I know it looks tricky, but it's not. Let me show you where this is in the PMP guide. Follow me to page 417. If you take a look at the outputs of identify risk, the very first one mentioned on page 417 is, or I should say 418, I beg your pardon. The second one on page 418 is a risk report, and it says risk process information in the risk report may include, but it's not limited to, sources of overall project risk, indicating which are the most important drivers of overall project risk exposure, and summary information on identified individual project risks, such as number of identified threats and opportunities, distributions of risk across risk categories, metrics, and trends, etc. And then it says additional information may be included in the risk report. But you need to understand that the risk report in its early stages does not have as much as it will have when you build upon it. So the risk report towards the end of a risk overhaul, the whole 7 processes of risk is different from what you have in the beginning, but you add to it. And I would have expected you to know, oh, that's a risk report. Where does it come out initially? It comes out of there. It's like saying your project management plan. Where does it come out of? Don't say, oh, I can have project management plan update so I could be in any process. No. Where does the project management plan come from? Develop project management plan. Where does the risk report come from? The first place is identify risks, and then you build on that. And you see it as a recurring theme all throughout, but you need to really think, where does that come from? Okay? So that's the answer. You were in identify risks. The next thing you should do is perform a qualitative risk analysis. I know that can be argued, but take it from me. When you're given information like this, ask, where is the first place it comes from? Don't say, oh, that could be a project document update. No. If I ask you where did the change log come from, you're going to tell me, oh, well, the change log can be updated because it says project documents updates goes in here. Don't do that. Don't. Trust me. When you're asked a question, what are you doing if you're doing this? Or what are you doing if you're documenting this? You got to go to the first place that thing is mentioned. And that's how you answer the question. Otherwise, any answer could be correct, which is not the case on the PMP exam. But you already knew that. Talk to you tomorrow.